Bob Blackman.
Thank you very much, Mr. Deputy Speaker. And I'd like to congratulate the Honourable Member for Mitcham and Morden for leading this debate, and a pleasure to follow the Honourable Member for Slough, whose remarks I agree with wholeheartedly. I declare my interest as an officer of the all-party parliamentary groups, both for Tamils, Sri Lanka, and chairing that for the Council of Sri Lankan Mosques. Now, the reality is that Sri Lanka was blighted and torn apart by a terrible, bloody civil war. And 12 years on from that ending, there are still many people who are unaccounted for. We don't know what happened to them, whether they were killed, whether they're in graves somewhere, or whether they're dispersed around the world. Now, 9 years ago, I joined with others in visiting Sri Lanka ahead of CHOGM and seeing at first hand the work that was being done in Jaffna. And that heralded the visit then by former Prime Minister David Cameron, which was deeply a historic visit. I saw at first hand the mine clearance that was going on and also the clearance of areas for fishing so that the Tamil people could return to being able to farm and to fish for their own population and for exports. My constituent, Ambahai Selvakumar, has been referred to earlier. She lives in Kenton in Harrow and has been on hunger strike in relation to seeking justice for the Tamil people. I hope her campaign will be successful, but I would caution her to say that her life is more important at the moment than ensuring that we get the British government and others around the world to shift their views. I would commend the report, which highlights the abuses which minority religions in Sri Lanka. Clearly something that we should all draw attention to, and I would commend as well the report by Real Other, who are an organisation that have put together the position in Sri Lanka. They took 32 days, right? It draws not just to the forced cremation issues, but also the other suffering that the Muslim minority are in Sri Lanka right now. Remember, most of the design, there are all sorts of atrocities against the minority Muslims across Sri Lanka. Now, the reality is that there is deeply religious persecution going on in Sri Lanka, where there's a majority, big majority of Buddhists against all the minority religions. I was recently able to lead a virtual delegation to the UN Human Rights Council on behalf of Cosmos and actually draw attention of the Human Rights Council to the atrocities being subjected to the Muslim minority in Sri Lanka. It is key that the resolutions that the Human Rights Council are strengthened. And I would urge my honourable friend, the Minister, when he rises, to give a deep commitment to ensure that we act as a country to strengthen the resolutions and to make people, and particularly the leadership in Sri Lanka, face up to their responsibilities and ensure that religious persecution ends and that indeed the minority rights are protected. After all, that is one of our fundamental areas of international concern, and I hope that we will be leading the way rather than following.